Hello, my name is Lisa Shea, and this is part of my Horror Authors, Horror Short Stories, Horror Poetry, Horror Magazine series. And today we're going to talk about Little Green Men, which is one of my short stories. This is 19 pages long, 23 words, and we're going to go through the meaning behind it. So if you haven't read it yet and you care about spoilers, now would be the time to read it. If you don't care about spoilers, then we will plow forward and talk about all of the different items in it. So, Little Green Men, I'll give some background first. If you follow me on Facebook, I am joking all the time about wanting the space aliens to come and rescue us because we have screwed the planet up so badly. And, you know, as much as people say, oh, well, we can just conserve a little on energy and everything will be fine, I really think that we're past a major tipping point with the way we've hurt the Earth. The world is getting hotter and hotter. We've already started feedback loops where the Arctic glaciers are melting more. And with them melting, there's going to be less chance to reflect the light off, so it's going to get warmer and the sea levels are going to rise. And we're going to have a lot of problems with our civilization. And maybe it'll get to the point where the rich people are still able to survive and just a lot of poor people will die. Or maybe we'll get to the point where the world will actually get hot enough that nobody will be able to survive. You know, the Earth goes through these kinds of ups and downs, and entire swaths of animals, like the dinosaurs, die as a result. So there's no guarantee that humans have to continue. The planet will continue fine, and it will probably be full of lots of happy lizards and spiders and so on. But I don't think that civilization as we know it is going to be fine once the Earth gets hot enough that we all end up dying. So we will find out. And Little Green Men comes from this thought that the Earth is just getting warmer and warmer, that the rich people are not tending to do very much about it, and it's going to get to the point where it's going to be too late to do anything in terms of saving humans. I mean, that, like I said, the Earth will be fine, the lizards and spiders will be fine. And this reaches into what are the aliens thinking who are watching us and watching us destroy our planet. So, in this one, it's set in Western Massachusetts. I know for people outside of Massachusetts it looks like a tiny state, but we do actually have different sections of it. So the Boston and coastline are super crowded and dense, and then out in Western Massachusetts it's rolling hills, the Berkshires, and it's very rural out there. So clearly not as rural as like Wyoming or Montana or something like that, but still fairly rural. So we've got a middle-aged woman who's living on a farm all by herself and her dog Hound. And they are just struggling to get by because farm life is not easy out here. I imagine it's not easy anywhere at all right now with the way the climate keeps changing. But it's particularly not easy for her being a single middle-aged woman trying to keep this farm running. So she's laying in bed. She hears some sort of a noise. Her dog is whimpering. She goes out and looks out the screen. And she looks over the farm. And she hears some sort of whistling noise, and wham, a giant fireball slams into the field out in the back. And the house shakes, and she decides, well, I'll go take a look at it tomorrow. I am too tired to deal with this right now. And she goes back to sleep. So she wakes up the next day. Hound wants to figure out what's going on, but he's worried about it. She grabs her shotgun. She goes out the back door into the field. And she finds this giant blackened crater, and she finds a basketball-sized black thing in the middle of it. So, of course, she wants to explore it. That's what, no one ever calls the government or scientists or stuff. They always want to explore it themselves. So, and I have to admit, if I found a cool black thing, I'd probably want to explore it, because if you call the government, they're going to come take it away from you, and you never get to play with it again. So, she picks it up, brings it into the house. She decides she wants to hammer this thing open. So she puts it on the kitchen table, she gets a hammer and a screwdriver and starts trying to plow her way into it. It does not work. This thing is resisting her efforts. But she's not going to give up, so she takes it over into her dead husband's workshop and vices it in there and gets a pickaxe and smashes it open. And she's joyful. And it pops open into two halves, and now it's full of geodes, which are the little sparkling crystal things. I love geodes, which is, I mean, I write about things that I enjoy, so that is not a surprise. So she looks into the two geode halves, and she sees there's some forest green dust kind of stuff in there, so she wipes it away so that she can really enjoy the kinds of crystals that there are. And she brings them and puts them into her living room, and puts them up there as a nice decoration. And she's full of happiness. She's got pretty cool geodes. They came into her own yard, and now maybe she'll start playing with her computer. She's got some energy that she hasn't had in a long time. So the next scene, she steps out of the shower, she's happy and humming a song, and her eyes have become green. So something is happening to her, but she just says, I guess my eyes are green now. She doesn't worry too much. She plays with her computer for a few weeks. Her eyesight's improving. Things are getting better in her life. She started putting tropical plants in her house to liven up the house. And she's looking at her screen, and an ad pops up for a dating site. And she says, hey, I've been working on this computer now. I'm getting handy with the computer. Maybe I should think about dating. And she'd never thought about it in the past 5 years, but, she's got this new lease on life. So she clicks. And now she's been swiping and swiping and swiping for quite a while, and just no one ever seemed interesting. And then finally, someone came up, and she seemed the same sort of boring person that she'd been swiping past, but for some reason his particular face seemed to glow. And she says, oh, well, maybe I should give him a try. So she swipes on him. So she chats with him on the computer, and he seems interesting. He's interested in rocks, and they say that maybe they should meet up. And she's a little nervous, but she feels this warm, fuzzy feeling inside her that maybe they should give it a try. So she gets dressed for her special date. She's in a forest green blouse. Hound is still grumpy with her for doing all these strange things, and she yells at him. And she goes off to the roadside diner, and there he is. So they meet up together, and she realizes that he's a state representative. He's Mike, and that he's in government. And she doesn't really follow politics, but he talks about how he needs to focus on things that matter to people and not things like the stupid green people who want to save the planet. The planet will be fine, and we should all be using coal and gas, and we need to make as much money as possible. And while he's saying this, he seems to glow to her, so she decides that she also believes in this. And after a month, they've already become super happy with each other. They've had to tie the dog up in the backyard because he's been very unhappy about all these green kinds of things happening. So they talk about how the greenies are worried about greenhousing the planet, and once the planet crosses 120 F, humans will die off because it's too hot for us. And the only people willing to live on Earth will be the little green men from Venus who thrive in that kind of heat and moisture. And they all laugh about it. And they talk about the little green men and how the green world is crazy, and she's wearing green dresses. So lots of green going on here. So they talk about how great it'll be to be rich, how they'll get lots of money, how they'll have a dynasty that lasts lifetime, and they don't care about the idiotic green freaks. And they imagine the world carpeted with humid, lush tropical foliage, with rainforests and dense vegetation, dinner plate-sized spiders and 5-foot-long lizards, and no sign of a human being. And in her vision, she sees small green movements, and this is because the aliens are feeding her visions, and they feed her a vision that happens to include the little green men, which is what they are, trying to terraform the planet to make it a perfect planet for their purposes. They just need to get rid of these pesky humans. So she is all happy. She has these thoughts about building a McMansion, filling it all with tropical plants, and that is a joyful idea for her. So that's how it ends, with her and her soon-to-be husband rising their ways in the ranks. With the space aliens feeding them ideas, they'll be able to take over the presidency. They'll be able to turn us back into a world of coal and oil and high energy consumption, and that'll push the Earth even faster along to its 120, 140 degree temperature, which will then wipe out the humans and make this a nice world for people who want to have a hot desert/tropical planet, depending on what part of the planet you're in, and not have to worry about the pesky humans anymore. So that is the general theme of this. I think I made this one fairly clear, but if you had any questions about any sections, hopefully I helped to make those clearer for you. Let me know if you have any remaining questions about the storyline or where I was going with this. Let me know if you write similar stories about space aliens coming in to terraform us and get rid of the humans so that they can use the planet however they want to use it. And let me know what else you're working on. Please like and subscribe to the channel, and I will keep working on stories and magazines and other novelists for you. Have a great week.